Hi, Dr. Weiss here with the Beverly Hills Brain and Body Center. We are going to talk about what are stem cells and how can they help your body heal. So what is a stem cell? So we all learned in school that one sperm and one egg fuse and they form something called a zygote, which just means the very beginning of a new life. And that one cell divides into two cells, and then that keeps going on for some time, and eventually they become a new human being. Now, early on in the differentiation of that new life into a new human being, when you only have 16 cells, a couple of thousand cells, these cells are able to become many different types of cells. So these cells that are not specialized yet, meaning they have not become skin, they have not become muscle, they haven't become intestine, whatever they're ultimately going to become, they have the potential to become this different type of cell. And this is what a stem cell is. A stem cell has the potential to become or to differentiate into different types of tissue. And so there are two main types of stem cells that you need to be aware of. Number one, allogeneic. And number two, autologous. So, this is basically a fancy way of saying that the stem cells came from somebody else. So we'll call it from other. So there are embryonic stem cells, which are not legal in the United States, but there are many other types of stem cells that are legal in the United States. So other such stem cell products that may come from another person, but that are not originally yours, will be placental products, and it will also be cord blood. Those are some of the main options of stem cells that you can get that come from another person. So let's put that in there. Placental products and cord blood. Now, autologous is a fancy word of saying that the stem cells came from your own body. Wait, yes, even as an adult, you still have stem cells that are differentiating all the time. For instance, your gut lining is replacing itself every 5 to 7 days or so. So you have stem cells in your gut that are able to constantly renew themselves. Similarly, in almost any kind of mucosal surface in the body, like inside the oral cavity and such, you have stem cells that are able to regrow new tissue, and this is how we're regenerating ourselves all the time. Now, it turns out that in able to harvest these stem cells from an adult, there are two main places that it comes from. Number one, bone marrow. And number two, fat. Who would have thunk it? So this actually, we feel here at Beverly Hills Brain and Body Center that the stem cells from the fat is actually the king of regenerative medicine, and I'll explain why. The bone marrow stem cells, especially after the age of 40 or 50, the bone marrow, instead of being rich with blood cells and stem cells, becomes infiltrated with fat. So in a typical bone marrow procedure, where you're going to harvest stem cells, you're going to get somewhere on the order of tens of thousands of cells. Now, if you do a fat stem cell procedure, even on somebody who's 80 years old, you're going to get millions and millions of stem cells. So this is why we really prefer the fat. The other reason is that doing a bone marrow procedure and sucking the marrow out of somebody's bone can be quite painful. And when you do the fat procedure, you're doing a small area of liposuction just under local anesthesia. So the risks are fairly small, and there's very minimal discomfort that goes along with the procedure. So both from the standpoints of comfort and also from the standpoint of getting healthier, more viable cells and more number of cells, we prefer the fat. So how can these stem cells help your body heal? Whenever our body is damaged in any way, there are going to be markers that go out on the cell surface that's like an SOS signal. It's looking for help. and it's actually looking for those stem cells. We're releasing stem cells into our circulation all the time, but in very small amounts. So the signal to clamp onto those stem cells is already there. So if somebody had some sort of a stroke, they would have these being presented, on the cell surface of their brain tissues. Or if somebody had some sort of knee injury, then those receptors that are looking for the stem cells would be expressed in the knee. So the body's already looking for this. And what we're doing with the stem cell procedure is we're giving much more stem cells than the body's normally used to seeing, and that allows it to regenerate and to heal at a much more rapid rate. Now, there is a place for both of these types of stem cells. This, the fat, we would say this is the most powerful. It's also the most expensive, and it also involves a small surgery. So not everybody needs the most powerful solution out there. The other benefit of the fat stem cells versus the allogeneic, meaning from somebody else, is that we have pretty clear science that when we give somebody's own stem cells back to them, those stem cells actually will take hold and become new tissue. Whereas if you use an allogeneic stem cell from somebody else, the stem cells will deliver certain amounts of growth factors, they will deliver their exosomes, they will deliver immune modulators, and they will help you become more healthy, they will help you regenerate, but the cells themselves do not quote unquote stick like something that came from your own body. So that's one of the reasons that the autologous is more powerful than the allogeneic. The other thing, comes down to safety. So far the safety data is showing that there's no tumor growth, or there's no sort of adverse effects that we're seeing from the allogeneic cells, but we also haven't done studies over 30, 40, and 50 years. Whereas if we're giving you your own tissue, we can be pretty well assured that it's going to be safe because it's your own cells and nobody else's. So again, that's the two main types of stem cells that we can use in our practice to help heal and regenerate. They can either come from somebody else, or they can come for you. And the way that they work again is that your body's already looking for them. We're just helping give the body more of what it already needs. So that's what stem cells are, and that's how they can help regenerate and heal your system.